Hello and welcome to the Meet the Parents podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 76 of the Meet the Parents podcast. This is a special bumper edition that's so long we've had to split it into two parts. Firstly, because it's our extra long Christmas episode and we've managed to cram in the entire team. And secondly, because after nearly 2 years, this is our final recording. Please don't all cry at once. After which the podcast will disappear off to wherever it is that old podcasts go in their retirement. Yeah, I know, it's like when they aired the final ever episode of Friends. Only even sadder. But don't worry, the Samaritans will be on standby 24/7 immediately after this goes live to receive the expected deluge of calls from our distraught fans. But anyway, Christmas is a happy time of year, and we want to go out with a bang and a celebration of the fact we've completed 76 episodes, which is about 75 more than we ever thought we'd manage. So let's plunge straight in, shall we? So, anyone remember Ali G? He had his West Staines massive, and throughout the life of this podcast we've sort of had our own equivalent, with Dave the Dadventurer, Amie, formerly of Finding Our Feet, and more recently Simon from Man vs Pink, all hailing from the same town in the southeast. Although I think I'm right in saying that this is the first time we've had all three together on the same episode. But better late than never. Good evening, all of you.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Now, we're still 2.5 weeks from Christmas as we record this segment, so let me start by asking you all where you are with your Christmas preparations so far. So, are the Christmas tree and decorations up yet? Dave?
Yep, ours are up. We did the tree on the first weekend, so was that the 2nd of December, something like that? And that's almost like our new tradition where we do it the first week of December. Then, it took me probably the best part of 5 days to unwrap all of the Christmas lights that we've got as well, because that's just the most annoying job in the world, isn't it?
So that's just 5 days just to disentangle all the wires, isn't it?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And how about you, Amie?
Yeah, we were the same. It's the first weekend of December. We've only really got a tree up this year because we're not actually here for Christmas Day, so we've tried to tone it down a little bit.
And what about you guys, Simon?
We have not got the tree yet. We're going to do it this weekend because basically we get a real tree and we found if we get it too early it dies kind of before Christmas, so we kind of got to time it right.
And which side of the fence do you sit on, Dave and Amie? Real or artificial?
Fake.
Yep, fake for us, but we decided to splash out on a fake one with integrated lights this year because that's how we roll.
Ooh, get you. Yeah, I love the idea of having a real tree, but ours are artificial as well, so I guess you're on your own there, Simon. Now, surprisingly for us, we have a few decorations up already, but not the trees. Yes, that's trees plural. So we have one in the living room, one in the kids' playroom, and then the kids each have their own for their bedrooms. So you can tell we've been doing this for a while, can't you?
And that you also live in like a massive country manor by the sounds of it.
Oh yes. The house is so big it has its own postcode. If only. And what's the state of progress on the present buying front? Are you complete? Getting there? Last minute trolley dash on Amazon impending? Amie?
We're getting there. Santa's done. Thank you, Black Friday. And we just need to figure out what to get our parents now, which is always the hardest one.
And Simon, Dave, what about you guys? And also, to what extent do things get split up between you and your other halves?
Basically, I've got pretty much all of our daughters because that's more fun. And unsurprisingly, there's a lot of Star Wars things in there.
You do surprise me.
And there's a bunch of stuff actually that picked up from blogging that I just thought I'm just getting too much. I can't give all this stuff to her now. And it's her birthday coming up as well, like a week after Christmas. Under the tree is just going to be mostly her presents, I think, at this current rate.
Isn't that what Christmas is about, though, more the kids? That's what.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
No one seems to agree with me and my family.
Oh yeah, it all revolves around the kids in our house as well. And what's the situation in the Hornby household, Dave?
I've done absolutely nothing so far. I really need to get my finger out. I think Hayes bought a couple of things.
As for us, we're getting there on the present front. Although, in fairness, my wife's the one who manages the main present list, and very efficiently she does it too. Whereas I'm only really entrusted with doing the kids' stockings, which is probably just as well, really. It does make you think, though. Whatever did we do before online shopping, eh? I mean, other than food and little stocking fillers, we buy virtually everything online these days. I can't say I miss all the queuing and flying elbows in the shops, I have to say.
No, I hate it.
Yeah, agreed.
I can't imagine parenting without Amazon Prime.
So many times I've wanted to joke with the kids that Amazon Prime is actually just Santa's outsourced delivery service for secondary presents, and that their main global warehouse is co-located at the North Pole. So, anyway, what are you guys doing for Christmas this year? Are you taking an extended break? And do you have any particular plans for the holiday period? Simon?
No particular plans. I will be taking off the same time as our daughter, so when she breaks up, I'll be off too. And we're just hanging out here, really. My parents live in the next town over, so we're just going to go. And my sister lives there as well in the same town, so we're just going to go over there Christmas Day, and then other than that, just kind of hang out, a few day trips to London, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I guess it's slightly different for you these days, now that you've gone from being a stay-at-home parent to a working one.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be, I'm kind of focusing on this bit now. It's great. And things like I don't have to go to the bloody school pantomime this year, as in the trip to the pantomime. I hate panto, and I had to go last year. They guilt tripped me basically. The school saying, "Oh, we need more parents, and like we've got no dads coming. It'd be great to have a dad come along for the kids." And it's like, okay, I'll go. And it was just as awful as I thought.
Dave, what about you? What will you guys be up to?
We'll be here for Christmas Day. Well, actually, we'll be here for most of it. We've got Hayley's mum and dad coming up maybe a week before. Got my mum and dad coming down a couple of days afterwards. Obviously, with Hayley being quite big and pregnant at the moment, we won't be travelling around like we have done in previous years. So yeah, people will be coming to us.
And Amie, you said you're away on Christmas Day, aren't you?
We're on tour.
Sounds like you're in a panto.
Yeah, it sometimes feels that way. Both our parents are divorced, so this year is the busy year where we basically travel around all sets of family and see everyone. So we leave our house, we go to work the Thursday before Christmas, so that is the 21st, and we don't come back to our house until I think the 27th.
Yeah, I remember doing the whole on-tour thing pre-kids. At least now with 3 children, everyone else recognises that it's much easier for them to come to us. So, obviously, Amy's away on Christmas Day, but Dave, Simon, what's Christmas Day like in your household?
For Christmas Day, it's quite nice. I think, the past few years, like when we lived in London, we used to like travel up to like my parents' house for Christmas Day, so we always wake up there, and since kind of living here now where we do, it's just really nice to wake up Christmas in our own home, and that's why we kind of have the tree and all the presents there and everything. Because we're just going to the next door town, then we kind of hang around most of the morning really, and only kind of head over there, I don't know, midday or something, and then we have like a long extended Christmas lunch. And then it's funny, like my wife, she finds it quite different because she's from New Zealand where it's summer there and Christmas, and she's used to, you have a Christmas dinner, often a barbecue, and then you might go for a walk or go down the beach or something like that. And it's just, very, in Britain, well, certainly us anyway, we very much like hunker down. It's a different mentality for her to get into.
Yeah, Christmas down under is a very different experience, isn't it? We spent one Christmas years back with my father-in-law in Perth, Australia, and sitting outside in the afternoon on Christmas Day, cracking open beers by the barbie in 40-degree heat was a very different Christmas experience from what I'm used to, that's for sure.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
I didn't like it. It was weird. We had a Christmas tree one year, and it's like, this just doesn't feel right having like an evergreen sort of, pine tree in our house. And, and you get like sort of snowmen icons around in Christmas cards and things out there, and you're like, why are you doing this? This is your summer. It's kind of crazy.
What about when it comes to presents? Are you reasonably restrained, or does the base of your tree look like a FedEx depot after Black Friday?
Like I said, I just really enjoy buying presents for our daughter because it's just fun. So I probably get too much, and then being a blogger, I probably sign up for like too many things. I'll say, I'll review that because it just seems like something cool that we could get our daughter. And it's quite funny. Like I was like doing my present list the other day, and I just ended up buying the stuff. There was a book, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to buy it. And there was a film, and you know what, I'm just going to buy it. When you become an adult, it's like when you're a kid, you don't have access to this stuff. Like it's really exciting to be able to sort of get these things, and then when you grow up, you can just buy it anyway. The tree will be full of presents underneath, I'm sure, but most of them will be for our daughter.
Is it a man thing to buy things that you want just before Christmas? Because my partner does this, and it drives me mad. Whereas I would kind of just drop really heavy hints and be like, oh, I saw this thing and it's really cool or whatever.
Maybe it is a guy thing, because in our house we have an embargo where I'm not allowed to buy anything for myself after November the 1st, which just means I have to wait a few weeks, and then I buy everything that I'm not given at Christmas at the beginning of January anyway. Dave, are you the same?
I don't really buy myself that much, actually. What I do want at the moment is FIFA, and I'm pretty sure Hayes got me that for Christmas, so I was very tempted to buy it. But I think I'd be in the same situation of, all of the wives and Amie have just said that I'd probably be in the doghouse for buying something that she's got me for Christmas because I'm supposedly difficult to buy for. But in terms of presents for others, it tends to be sort of like the grandparents that will sort of spoil them. So in previous years, they've come down just after Christmas with like massive sacks of stuff. So we tend to rein it in a little bit in terms of what we buy. And
Amie, how about you?
We've toned it down a lot this year. And we're in the same position as Dave, that kind of the grandparents, especially my dad and his wife, they really spoil her.
Every year we say we're going to be more restrained, but too often, once you've added in presents from grandparents and close friends and so on, there's barely any space left in our living room for people. Never mind anything else.
You also have 3 kids, Tim, as well.
Yeah, and that's a whole different challenge in itself, because if you buy a present for one of the kids, then you have to buy one of similar perceived value for the other 2, because my God, they keep count. God forbid Isaac should have 8 presents while the others only have 7. We'd never hear the end of it. And the biggest problem as well that we tend to have is finding places around the house to hide everything away from prying eyes, because by Christmas Eve there isn't a spare inch left anywhere in the house.
Do they still believe in Santa, Tim?
The younger 2 do. This is going to be the first year that Isaac is in on the secret. He's just turned 10, so to be fair, I think we got away with it a year longer than we were expecting. So it'll be interesting to see how the dynamic changes between the 3 of them this year. So now that we've all got our piles of presents, do they all get opened at once or at a specific time or times? Amie?
It varies, because like if it's with my family, we do Santa very, very first thing, kind of as we're eating breakfast. And then we all kind of go off, get showered. My mum would start the dinner, and then we'd come back down and give each other presents. And then after lunch, it was any presents from sort of the extended family. And because I was an only child, it was a way of sort of prolonging stuff throughout the day, because it wasn't that we had a massive, and we lived abroad, so it was often just the 3 of us. So it was kind of, how do we keep momentum going? Whereas at my other half's house, there's often 17 of us. So we all sit in a circle and you each open one present one by one. But in recent years, now we've all started having kids as well, we've started doing, you exchange a present. So 2 of you are opening a present at one time, because at one year we were still opening presents at like 9 o'clock at night and we were only halfway through.
Dave, how about you?
Yeah, similar. We tend to get up, go downstairs, split the presents into different piles, and then take it in turns going round, opening one each.
And Simon?
So we at home, first we'll just do all our presents in the morning, the 3 of us. And then, for Christmas lunch, what tends to happen is like they kind of get sort of distributed from under the tree by the kids of the family, and then everyone just opens them at once. Because there's about, I don't know, there'll be about 12 of us. Yeah, it's just kind of free for all. You kind of shout a thank you across the rustling, and then we get back to drinking and Christmas dinner.
Apropos nothing in particular, a few quickfire Christmas-related questions. First of all, what, if anything, will you be watching on TV on Christmas Day? Amie?
We're at my in-laws, so probably nothing.
Simon?
I don't know, actually. It depends. It's weird. It used to be the Christmas film used to be this big thing, and now it's like I have no idea what it is. So, we might watch whatever film's on, if it's anything interesting, or Christmas EastEnders, maybe, if that pops up. Not that we watch it anymore. But really, the TV stopped being something we kind of watch on Christmas Day, really.
Dave, how about you?
We tend to try and catch like the cartoons and animations. So I'm not sure whether it's Christmas Day this year or on one of the other days, but there's Julia Donaldson's The Highway Rat. So we will be watching that and probably watching it over and over and over and over again until this time next year.
So for us it will be DVDs and films throughout the day, and then probably Strictly, because the kids wouldn't have it any other way. Moving on. Brussels sprouts, yes or no? Simon?
No.
Dave?
No.
Amie?
Yes, but only if cooked with butter and bacon.
No, it's true. I've heard with bacon is the way to have them together.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yes, definitely. And Brussels sprouts get a yes from me, so we're split down the middle on that one. And finally, It's a Wonderful Life or Home Alone? Dave?
Die Hard. Can I say things up?
Yay!
There's always one, isn't there?
I would go with Home Alone if I have to pick the two.
Amie?
I'm with Dave a little bit, but between those two, It's a Wonderful Life.
And Simon?
Die Hard.
Tim, you need to improve these questions, mate.
Can we all just say Die Hard then? I guess for me, the kids would say Home Alone, but it would be It's a Wonderful Life every time for me. So before we finish, let's look back and reflect on some of the big things that have happened in our lives since we started the podcast back in February 2016. So, Amie, why don't we start with you? What have been your big highlights over the past couple of years? Because you've had a few.
So I think when we started, it was the week before I went back to work. So there was that. We moved to this unnamed town where me, Simon and Dave all live. I promise I wasn't following them and stalking them. We are still looking to try and buy a house since the podcast started, and we still haven't found one. And my dad got married. Little Miss is about 95% potty trained. That saga is almost done. That feels like a massive milestone. Yeah, I think that's probably it for us.
Yeah, you were busy looking at houses just last weekend, weren't you?
Yeah. We found one we might put an offer in on, but it needs a lot of work. And I'm just not sure we have the headspace, the capacity, the energy, both working full time and a 3-year-old. If you've got to rip the kitchen out and everything and you've got 4 months, how do you make them nutritious meals? I literally don't understand how you live with that.
I mean, Simon, you've only just joined the team at the start of the year, but you've seen as much change as anyone. What have been the big things for you over the past year or two?
Well, yeah, the big thing this year was going back to work. I started back in July, so it's been nearly 6 months. Yeah, and just getting back in, it's been great being back in working in London, and I'm one of those weirdos that really actually missed the commute and really enjoys it. I get to read. I read more books in like the first month than I had in the previous 5 years, I think. And it was just like for us, it was just the right time, definitely. That's been clearly the big change this year, and it's so far going well.
Cool. And Dave, obviously some big changes coming up, but what have been the big events for you over the past couple of years, other than Aston Villa getting relegated, of course?
Well, yeah, there's that one. I don't think there's really been that much change, to be honest. We've just sort of ticked along. So I'm trying to think back. Hayley started a new job, which I think probably fits into the podcast time frame, which has been really good for her and worked out really well for us as a family. Elle started nursery. I guess she went from pretty much being a baby through to a little kid, which is strange but quite cool at the same time. And then with me, yeah, it's just been continuing to build on the blog and I guess take it to a point where it's a full-time job really for me now. But yeah, 2018 I think will be the big change with a second coming along, and we'll just see how that impacts things.
And then finally, let's look forwards rather than back. Does anyone have any big plans for 2018 that they want to share? Simon?
Not that I don't want to share. I don't have any big plans really. It's more than just getting kind of hunkered down into work and just progressing that really. And actually, like Amie, we still haven't bought a property yet. We've been close a couple of times, and now suddenly we found ourselves with me finding a job and wife, she got a great new job as well, and suddenly like our ability to buy somewhere has kind of changed, which is great. Like we put in an offer on a place last week, for instance. I think we're looking at a different part of town than Amie, so I don't think we're competing. But
I was going to say,
I'm not sure.
There's more people trying to buy houses.
So I guess that would be the thing, just really for us to consolidate kind of how we've ended 2017 and move that forward in 2018.
And Amie, how about you, other than obviously gazumping Simon?
Yeah, I think actually I was thinking about this time last year doing the Christmas episode. You asked us the same question. I'm pretty sure I said hopefully we'll find a house. So I'm going to say the same again. Hopefully we'll find a house. But I would really, really like to find a bit of better home work-life balance as well. The last 6 months to 8 months have just been unbearable for both my partner and I. And it's feeling like we never see our daughter. She's at school like 11 hours a day at the moment. And it's no way to live as a family, and certainly not for her. She's only 3, for God's sake. So we're trying to implement some changes and stuff for us to make it a bit more of a family again, because it does feel like we don't really ever see each other.
Well, hopefully you'll be able to do that, so fingers crossed. How about you, Dave?
Well, obviously a second baby is going to change things quite a lot. Hay's going to be off work. We're talking about maybe a year, which would be quite cool. Obviously I'm around as well, which makes it really nice that we'll be together as a family, and Elle won't start school until September, so we've got a good sort of maybe 6 months of all being together. We've potentially talked about doing some type of big road trip or something, like hiring an RV and going around Europe or whatever, but I don't know whether the idea of that is actually better than what it would be in reality, so we'll see about that. But I think one of the big things that's going to have to happen with me is just, like as Amie says, it's that work-life balance, and I'm not sure what form that takes yet. Probably something's going to have to give there, whether that's sort of scaling back or what, I'm not sure yet, but yeah, there might be some changes happening.
For me, I don't think I've got any major plans work-wise, and we're absolutely not planning on having any more kids, I can tell you that for free. But I guess one of the pluses of our kids now being a bit older is that we can be more adventurous in terms of travel. So we're heading off to Australia and Malaysia in February to visit family and to celebrate Chinese New Year properly. And then what's now our traditional big summer road trip. It'll be a bit shorter this year, but we'll be heading to Italy again and then up to Austria. So that'll be 2 weeks in the car. Maybe not quite as long as you may end up doing, Dave, but plenty long enough. So that wraps things up for this segment. So for me, let me just say thanks to each of you for sharing time with me for our regular podcast chats over the past couple of years. And I'll no doubt see you all on Twitter, Facebook, your blogs, and even in person soon. But before we go, just remind us all where we can find you online. Dave?
I'm www.thedadventurer.com and on Twitter at @the_dadventurer.
And Simon?
I blog as Man vs Pink, Man vs Pink, and that's manvspink.com, and also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And finally, Amie.
I completely forgot to say when you asked us what were the big changes in the past 2 years. Obviously, I stopped blogging. That minor thing. So I'm now only on Twitter as @AmieCaitlin, AmieCaitlin, and the same on Instagram.
For this next part of the podcast, I'm going to be talking with Hayley from Downside Up and Mark from Best Dad I Can Be. Good evening, both of you.
Evening.
Hi, Tim. Hi. Hope you're feeling slightly better, but it doesn't sound like it.
I've now retreated about 3 feet from death's door.
Oh, bless you. Thank you for having us.
Hopefully you can't catch anything over Skype. Christmas Day is 2 weeks today as we're recording this, so how are your preparations for Christmas coming along? Are they in full swing, or are you dramatically underprepared? Hayley?
Do you know, for the first time since the year Natty was born, so in 11 years, I've been super early. It's almost sort of an instinct that there's so much stress around at the moment for us this year that I just needed to get it nailed, wrapped up and done and ticked off. So I'm kind of done and just ready for whatever the rest of December can throw at me.
I'm already insanely envious of you. But how about you, Mark?
Well, do you want to finish recording now, Tim? Because one of the great advantages of this empty nest syndrome is that you have Christmas wrapped up, organised, stored away, done. We're just casually sitting here drinking gin and tonic, really, for the rest of the December.
I'm coming round, Mark. I'll see you in a minute.
You better be quick. My wife's quite a savage gin and tonic drinker, you know. So
she sounds like my kind of girl.
You know, she's a Bombay Sapphire girl.
Oh, yes, hello. But have you tried the blogger gin? Mummy Barrow, Tanya at Mummy Barrow launched her own gin last month. And as all good blogger friends do, they support one another. So I felt I had to buy a bottle. And
awesome.
It's pretty darn good, Mark.
Right, awesome. That's really good. I really like these craft gins that people are coming up with. I think it's really, really good. One of my resolutions for next year is to drink much more gin.
And I've now got something else to add to my Christmas list. So, as for us, we're finally getting there, albeit a bit later than usual. We have a no decorations before December the 1st policy in our house, and at 6 a.m. on that morning, the kids were all busy cutting up homemade paper chains, which was great. But the tree and all the main decorations only went up yesterday, in fact, and we'll still be decorating throughout the rest of this week, I expect. So, yeah, we're a bit later than usual this year. I'm not sure why, but there you go. So, what are you guys doing for Christmas this year? Are you taking just a few days off, or a longer break? And do you have any particular plans for the holiday period? Mark?
I'm not taking too much time off, actually, Tim. I maybe about 4 days, but I've got client work, particularly over the beginning of New Year. It means that I'll have to do some work between Christmas and New Year, so a relatively short break for me, which I'm not too happy about because I could actually do with a longer break, but that's just the way it's fallen with my clients this year.
That's a shame. What about you, Hayley? You've had such an incredibly busy year, so I hope you're having a proper break over Christmas.
Yeah, it's been a helter-skelter kind of a year. It's dragged me away from blogging a little bit, and we have promised ourselves a really stress-free Christmas. So I've sort of turned down all the additional extras. I'm saying no as much as I can, and really we're just focusing on a couple of trips around the UK to visit family, deliver presents, and 1 or 2 meetings with close friends. And then really we're just going to keep it simple. And the beauty of living in Cornwall is that it can be a walk on the beach on Christmas Day with the dogs and, you know, lots of mince pie making and just really keep it simple and just the 4 of us this year. Yeah, a time to kick back, play some games and crack open a gin, Mark, I think.
Yeah, quite so.
That sounds lovely. And it's great to have a nice simple Christmas that isn't too full of lots of stuff. And I think we'll be the same. We'll be playing a lot of games with the kids and drinking a lot of gin without the kids.
I think I reached the point last year or the year before where I realised we were all, particularly as women, being herded into this sort of each year had to be the best Christmas ever, and unless you've got, you know, your table is immaculately laid and everything matches, and the night before Christmas, the children have to have a box containing all sorts of manner of, you know, pajamas and wonderfulness. It just got too much, and I think we were getting sucked into that. So I've sort of stepped back. Even the elf on the shelf has a broken leg this year. Just not doing it. not doing it.
And that's a really good point, because there is this pressure each year to make each Christmas bigger and better than the last one. And there's a lot to be said for dialing it down a little bit every now and then.
Yeah, I think I'm aiming for a good enough Christmas. Yeah, just good enough.
So what is Christmas Day like in your household? So who does the cooking of Christmas dinner? And do you have any particular traditions? Hayley?
Oh, gosh. We really don't. We're quite lazy. We all cook together, so depending on who's in the house, all family members will take it in turns, prep it all the night before, and it's mainly about the children. So lots of, snuggling up to watch Julia Donaldson and games and, like I say, maybe a walk on the beach. But we're really quite lazy.
How about you, Mark? What's Christmas Day like in the Richards household?
Well, Christmas will be really special this year because obviously we've got all three children coming back for Christmas, and every year I sort of think, well, we can't have another Christmas where there's just the five of us because there'll be boyfriends or girlfriends or one of them will be off somewhere else. But we've managed it again this year, so I'm really excited about having them all back together. I'm not sure that my wife's looking forward to Christmas morning too much because our beloved daughter will be helping her cook the Christmas dinner. And as all daughters of 22 are, she's decided she can cook a Christmas dinner far better than her mother, and who should therefore just be taking instructions and doing as she's told.
Be the sous chef.
But yeah, really looking forward to it. And like you, Hayley, certainly one of us will be taking the dog for a walk on the beach. And if it's raining, there'll only be one volunteer, as usual.
For us, Christmas Day typically kicks off at 6 a.m, which is the earliest the kids are allowed out of their rooms. And believe me, even that's a struggle for them to wait that long. They're allowed to open their stockings first. Then, once everyone's up, they're allowed to open a few presents before breakfast, and then the rest gets staggered through the rest of the morning.
Oh, good for you. We do that. We have a break for Christmas, and I'm absolutely in favour of making the kids wait and
good idea.
Showing a bit of self-control. There's only me that really loses control completely after a couple of glasses of Bucks Fizz for my breakfast.
That's part of our breakfast ritual as well. And then when it comes to Christmas lunch, that's very much my domain. It took me a good 6 or 7 years to ease my mother out of the kitchen so I can organise everything and cook in peace. Then, other than a post-lunch stroll, no beaches for us, followed by a post-walk nap, and then the Christmas Strictly Special before the kids go to bed, that's pretty much it as far as our traditions go.
I'm not sure it matters too much what your traditions are, but I do like Christmas traditions. I think they're a really integral part of family life. I've realised as I've become older that they've become more and more important to me.
So, just for the fun of it, let's do a few quick-fire Christmas-related questions. Let's start with Christmas TV. EastEnders, Corrie, or neither? Hayley?
Neither.
Mark?
Neither.
Then it's a full house, because it's neither for us as well. We are absolutely 100% a non-soap household. What time will the unwrapping of presents begin on Christmas Day? And by what time will all the presents be unwrapped? Mark?
What time will it begin? It depends whether they go out on Christmas Eve. They're perhaps a little bit too sophisticated to go out in Scarborough now. At a rough guess, I would say about 8:30, something like that.
Oh my word!
What time will we be finished? I don't know, 11:30. It's a very long, drawn-out morning at our house.
Excellent. What about you, Hayley?
Yeah, gosh, I'm astounded how early you guys get up. Our two, they've definitely entered sort of the teenage phase where they like to lie in. So I reckon we'll be having breakfast about 9. And by the time it's usually sausage rolls and, like you say, Bucks Fizz or hot chocolate for the kids, probably about 10 we'll start opening. And it will go on past midday, and then we'll light a fire and sit round and take our time. Yeah, usually 2 to 3 hours, depending on how many people in the house.
You see, it's the other way round for us. Here it will be a 6:01 a.m. start. And if we didn't make the kids open a few presents at a time over the course of the morning, it would probably be about I don't know, a 6:03 finish.
Gosh. We do ours one at a time, though. Do you make the children wait and watch each other open each individual present, or do you just do a free-for-all?
It tends to start out very civilised and organised, but by mid-morning, to be honest, it's just a free-for-all.
Oh.
Okay, Hayley, we do that one at a time.
Yes.
It's always been youngest first as we go round. And this is a tradition which is really dear to me, which I carry on because my dad used to do that. We put clues on the presents as well. We put little cryptic clues on them. And if you can't guess your clue, you can't open your present.
Oh!
There can be some long delays.
And finally, if you had to listen to one and only one Christmas song for the rest of your life, what would it be? Mark?
No question at all, it would be the Pogues, A Fairy Tale of New York.
See, I loathe that song. I don't know. I do. I don't know.
I think it should be a criminal offence to play the Paul McCartney Christmas song.
I'm not really sure. I think I quite like the Slade song because it reminds me, it was always the end of term song at our school, and the sixth formers would put on a really funny thing, and we were all allowed to go a bit wild. And that for me is Christmas week. But if I had to, I'm not a huge fan of Christmas songs. I think, we should save them to the last week only.
You can't beat a bit of Slade, but I'm with Mark. For me, it would have to be Fairy Tale of New York every time. It's one of the few Christmas songs I can listen to again and again, and it will still always bring a smile to my face. So before we finish, let's reflect on what's happened in our lives since we started the podcast back in February 2016. Hayley, what have been your highlights over the past couple of years? Because there have been quite a few.
Do you know, I find that an embarrassing question because I honestly can't remember, but I can remember this year. I can remember this year's highlights. It's been, this year for me, both girls being awarded British Citizen Youth Awards up in London, so going up to the House of Lords and them getting their specially minted medals. And they've now got letters after their name, which is incredibly exciting for their work towards diversity and inclusion and all that they do in and around the blog. So that was a very, very proud moment. And what has dominated my entire year was doing a TEDx talk. And who knew that it would take an entire year to write script, ditch, rewrite, have speaking lessons, practices, cut it, panic, nearly not do it, have to learn it by heart. My poor old brain just couldn't learn without notes, 15-minute talk. And that was a real struggle for me and a real learning curve. So, but proud I've done it. I haven't seen it yet because they haven't been edited and published yet. But those were the two highlights, I think, of this year.
And there was the Sally Phillips documentary, of course, wasn't there, which was last year now?
Oh gosh, yes, that was last year, and I think that's almost what sort of pulled me back from the blog world and the online world. It was such a tumultuous time, a very exhausting time, a very divided opinion. The fallout basically was afterwards now is overwhelmingly positive, but it was a difficult time, and I think Sally and I both ended up with a bit of post-traumatic stress about going onto Twitter. But what has come out of that is a really, really genuine friendship, and Sally and I sort of really close now, which is fantastic. So we're quite lucky in that respect. But yes, there's been a lot of highlights.
And how about you, Mark?
Going back over the last couple of years, it's really been about the kids' achievements and things. The biggest academically was Alex did really, really well in his A-levels, and that's just a child looking back. When he was 10 years old, we discovered he was as dyslexic gets, and my wife basically had to teach him to read again from scratch. So everything he's done, just really, really nice, and just shows that persistence with a child really, really pays off. I guess, if we're going back to 2016, there was our 5 days on the Pennine Way, which was just a fantastic father-son time.
Excellent. For me, I guess the single biggest thing was moving into a new job in the world of social media. I think I was probably just doing my interviews for the job as we were recording episode 1, and I'm still there nearly 2 years later, so I guess I can't be doing all bad. And finally, any big plans for 2018? Mark?
Yeah, the biggest plan I've got for 2018 is that I'm going to write a book with Eleanor, with my daughter. This is the first time I've really told anybody that I'm planning to do this, which is kind of taking all the blog posts I've written over the past 14 years, looking at the ones which relate to Eleanor, and then getting her to comment on them, so that I tell the story of a father-daughter relationship with her.
Oh, what a fantastic way to look back over all those years.
Yeah, and she can write, she can write. Well, in fact, you know, Tim, that from one of the conversations we had on this with Hannah, Eleanor's sort of doing that now and doing it quite successfully. Undoubtedly, her comments will surprise me, but, we've always had a very open, very honest relationship, and I'm really looking forward to that.
That'll be really interesting to see what she thinks about what you wrote when she was smaller. I can't wait to read that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing it. What about you, Hayley? Any big ambitions for 2018?
To be honest, it's catching up on. So in January, I had a lovely quiet January where I bought myself one of these journals and I mind mapped all my plans for this year. And I think it worked till about March, and then it all went awry. But in January of this year, I registered the ISBN number of our second book and the title, and I haven't done a single thing towards it. So next year will be properly about bringing out that second book, and it's a book. So our first book was written by Mia about having a sister with Down syndrome. So I Love You, Natty. The second book is going to be from Natty's perspective, about her own life.
So that's it for this part. So let me just say that it's been fun catching up with both of you whenever we've had the opportunity to do so. And we'll definitely stay in touch going forward anyway, just not always on a Monday night.
Thank you so much for having us and pulling us together.
It's been a real pleasure, Tim, and I've really enjoyed doing these. I hope everybody else has. It's been great fun.
It's been lovely. You're one of the most generous and genuine bloggers that I know. So thank you so much.
Tim, we are in the New Year's honours list for this, aren't we? You can tell us now.
You mean you haven't received the letters yet?
Not yet, no. I assumed they were stuck in the Christmas post.
Yeah, probably. They may have been diverted via the North Pole. Before we go, just remind everyone where we can find you online. Hayley?
I blog at downsideup.com, and you'll find me on Twitter and Instagram, mainly hiding out there, my favourite two places, Downside Up, so 2 S's.
And Mark?
Okay, so the blog's at bestdadicanbe.com, and Twitter, bestdadicanbe, and the book, the Pennine Way book, markrichards.co.uk.
And that's it for part 1. I'll be back soon with part 2 featuring Vicky, Hannah and both Johns. See you later.